I just want to welcome everyone to another episode of Behind the Sweet Science, a boxing podcast. I'm joined today with Jose, another co-host of the show. How we doing today, Jose?
Pretty good, brother. Can't complain. How about yourself?
Good. Can't complain. Just got back from the gym, so any day hit the gym is always a good one. But today we're going to talk about a couple up-and-coming fights for the summer. It's been, it's been slow a little bit recently, but now it's starting to heat up. We got a really big matchup coming up Saturday night with Teofimo Lopez and Rollie Romero. It's been one of these type of fights. It's been building a little bit now for a couple of years, even though they've been friends. They've been kind of cracking jokes and, social media, going after each other and doing all stuff like that. So I just want to break down that fight with you. We'll talk about that. And then there's a couple other fights that I like to talk about. But what's your first initial thoughts on Saturday night's matchup?
So this is one of those fights where, there's a lot of semantics that can play into it. Because we know Teo is a top level skill for skill guy. But the one thing that always comes with him is, where is he mentally? So he's coming off of his most devastating loss, even more devastating than the Kambosos, I think, because he just got completely obliterated. He didn't even stand a chance. And now he's coming up in a new weight class he hasn't fought at, against a dude that he's sparred a lot, he's friends with. You don't just lend boxing people that are close to you, 5 or 10,000, whatever it was that he lended Rollie. So he genuinely likes Rollie. Right. They genuinely have a relationship. I just don't know what Teo shows up Saturday. I can't even put a finger on it, because he has a strong relationship with this guy. And I think Teo's kind-hearted enough to where he might hold back. He might not go 100%. So I'm kind of envisioning this to be a glorified sparring session.
Right. Unfortunately, right. Yeah, I've never been a fan of the people that have relationships outside of the sport, competing and fighting each other. I think it's just something that is real difficult. I could just imagine, and again, we weren't world-class fighters, but, we've had our share. We've been in the gym. And you can think about it, you've always had those 2 or 3 guys that you work with, and, you spar with them weekly, and you develop a friendship. I know I had a few guys, in my home gym that I'm still tight with to this day, that we text, regularly, we talk regularly, and man, we probably sparred over 100 rounds together. But I could never really imagine fighting him or fighting one of the guys that I constantly worked with, and kind of helped each other get better. I can't see that being a recipe for a great fight. And like you said, it's probably going to be a glorified sparring session, which is unfortunate because it is a big fight and it's 2 really big names. It's definitely an intriguing matchup because, like you said, you don't really know the Teo that you're going to get. But Teo's usually always been in great shape and always been a fan favorite of mine. And the guy's very highly skilled. So I think if we get the best version of Teo, I think that Teo is going to beat him pretty convincingly, in my opinion.
Yeah, if we get the best version of Teo, I think Teo stops Rollie. Rollie's chin is gone. So, and Teo, he hasn't got a knockout at 40, since he's been at 35, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe even Kampa he did not stop, or if he stopped him late, I can't quite remember. But I think Teo's athletic enough.
I don't think he stopped him.
Okay, right. And he has that fast twitch muscle, and he can just snap something for Rollie to run right into and just drop him.
Yeah, great classical counterpuncher is what Teo is.
Yeah.
And
so if we get the best version of Teo, the most focused and friendship aside, then yes, I think I would slam the house on Teo. But I'm not betting at all on this because I genuinely don't know. And to go back to what you were saying about sparring, the amount of times that I've sparred, friends or people that I really liked, I always struggled with really being able to turn my punches over. And I always fell into a bad habit of, after I'm punishing them, I'll step back and reset.
Right. course.
And that's muscle memory. That would happen all the time with any of my sparring partners that I genuinely liked. So if we think about it, I'm sure they've shared the ring however many rounds. I know they didn't fully turn everything over. There are probably instances like that to where we can see that come up in the fight. It's just muscle memory. It's going to happen.
Right. They were probably definitely competitive in the matches because obviously to be a world-class fighter, you got to have just an incredible amount of competitiveness. So, competitiveness, I don't know if that's a word. But I think, listen, one thing I will say about Rollie, though, is, and you said his chin is gone. I don't know how much I agree on that because, I mean, Ryan is one of the biggest hitters at his weight class, and I don't even think Ryan stunned him with a hook. You know, and people could say whatever about that fight, but Ryan's a pretty big puncher. Ryan hurts everyone damn near, other than Tank, you know, and maybe, you know, a handful of other guys. But Ryan is one of the hardest, quickest punches in the game, and I don't really think he even phased Rollie with a shot. You know, I could be mistaken, but, you know, he was eating those shots pretty well. But that was a weird matchup, too, because I remember saying about that fight, you know, again, lucky enough to be there, you know, Times Square. I got lucky.
You're one of the 3% of people like ever to be able to. That's awesome.
Right. Man. So that was an amazing experience. But I remember that night, I remember saying, and I remember favoring Ryan, but I remember saying about Rollie, there's something about him and Ryan's relationship that Rollie's like the older brother. You know, like no matter how good and talented and, you know, like much of a world-class fighter Ryan is, it's like Rollie's still the older brother, a little bigger, a little stronger, had that time when he was whooping on him and sparring and stuff like that. And I think that kind of maybe played in the mind of for Ryan that night. And I don't know, it was just something about him that Ryan was like kind of, he was scared to get hit in a sense, you know. And then when he got hit, he went down. And ever since that moment in the fight, it was just like he wasn't fighting the same. It was a weird fight for Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, clearly one of his worst performances, other than, you know, his loss to Tank. But yeah, I think it's gonna be kind of a sparring session, which is unfortunate. But hopefully we get a good fight, and that's all we can really ask for as a fan, you know. But I definitely favor Tio. I don't know about stopping him. I think Tio is probably going to win a clean decision, but it could be interesting because, like I said, Rollie could punch, and the weight could be a big difference at welterweight. As you know, 7 pounds could be a very big difference in a fight. So,
and Rollie has had, since the Pitbull loss, he's had such a drastic improvement. So he's no longer with Bullet. Now he's back with Salas, you know, that Cuban, the tiny Cuban trainer
who wears the high heels when he's working
exactly.
Right.
So I think something people don't know is that was actually his first professional coach, and then he left him and went to this dude Bullet Cornwell, and then came back to Salas. But what we've seen is Rollie's just pure boxing now. This dude, like, he can really fight off that back foot and box. So and he has, you know, crazy brute strength as well. Right. So it makes for a very good matchup if there aren't these other tangibles. But with the unknown, for myself, I can't even pick. I don't even know.
Right. Yeah, Rollie for a long time, I remember saying, like in the beginning when he got famous, for me it was all just about being on Instagram and the clip from the Ryan sparring.
That's how he got the Tank fight.
Right.
He got the Tank fight from talking crap.
But even before that, when did he fight that guy? It was an older guy. I want to say he was a Venezuelan guy.
Barroso.
Barroso, right. I remember.
So he got dropped by Barroso. Actually.
Right, he almost got stopped. He should have got
stopped. But Weeks, I don't know. They must have put a little extra in Weeks' back pocket for that fight.
Right.
But yeah, that was after the Tank fight. That was his comeback fight, and that's how he became a world champ. It was for that vacant WBO belt. Right. And he became a champ off of the weirdest stoppage ever.
Right, by a guy that was 40-something years old, too, which is, again, it kind of tells you how much the belts mean in the modern day. But, yeah, ever since that fight, he's been very improved. Because I remember saying, this guy has to be one of the worst, no disrespect to him, but one of the worst world champions that I could remember in recent times. I just remember watching his technique and just the way he fought and everything about him. It didn't even seem like he would
Nothing
be
matched.
Right. Like he would even be a top amateur. Like it would do something off. But then in the last few fights, man, he really stepped his game up, and he really improved, man. He really did. I don't know if it's the coaching. I don't know if it's him kind of rededicating himself to the craft, but he got a lot better, and he's doing a lot more things in there, man. Got to give him credit.
Yeah. And to talk more on like Rollie's personal life, he's like completely become like a man of God. And what we see is a completely new Rollie. Like this dude has so much more grace and patience with people. And he's still, you can see the childish acts in him a little bit. They come out because that's who he naturally is. But he's matured so much since the Tank and the Pitbull lost. And now he's a man of God. I feel like he's very disciplined.
Right. He's not much of a like a hot dogger anymore. You know what I mean? Like and like a child. Acting like a fool and doing all the Instagram stuff. And he's a little more mature now. So yeah. So all right. So if you had to pick though, if you were to make it bet, I know you said you weren't betting, but if you had $100, who are you putting your $100 on?
Tia.
Okay. All right. You'd probably have to lay 3-1. I haven't seen the odds yet, but I'm assuming that Tio is probably a pretty decent favorite in that fight. But all right, so on that card too, there's another. What's the co-feature on that card?
Oh man, my guy Yo-Yo El Diablo, the Cuban demon at 160. This guy, So Yo-Yo, he's training out of Hector Bermudez's gym up in I think they're up in Connecticut, Mass area. That dude has a bunch of different Hispanic fighters, and he's got a whole farm up there, man. But yeah, Yo-Yo's fighting. I'm excited to see him. He's coming back after he stopped Terrell Gachet, my fellow Ohioan, man. It was sad to see, but Yo-Yo's got power. This dude's got skills. It was a great. He's got a lot of good wins, man. He's picked up a win against Kyron Davis, Breadman Edwards fighter, Bryce Henry. This dude is just.
And he doesn't have a lot of fights. He doesn't have a lot of fights yet either. I was got about 10 fights, 12 fights.
Yeah, he did. He's got 10.
Okay.
He didn't go to any of the Olympics, but he's won worlds twice for the IBA.
I've seen that. Right.
So, and that's just like the Olympics. It's just the same people that win that end up going to the Olympics. It's just all about timing.
Right.
So, he's won it twice there. Who's to say he wasn't going to win gold at the Olympics? So. I'm excited to see that guy come back and see his power. He's also he was the sparring partner for Canelo as well. Canelo used him as a sparring partner to get ready for Bud.
So. Right. I remember seeing that. Right, he got some great work there, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. But all right, so we do have the odds. I want to thank our producer VC for that. We got Lopez actually a little less than a 3-1 favorite, which is kind of interesting. He's only minus 280 to win 100. And then Romero's plus 205. So that's an interesting betting line. I'm guessing that they're probably kind of high on the fact that, Rollie's been at 147 and, Tio's kind of going up there for the first time, in uncharted waters. So I'm assuming they're giving Rollie a little bit of credit for that. And then, listen, Tio, after a beating like that, even though he didn't get stopped, I mean, that's about as bad as a beating.
It was just as bad.
Right. It's almost like you're better off getting stopped to just get out of a beating like that, and I think Shakur is not like a massive puncher, but that was just an embarrassing, 12-round, absolute devastating defeat to take. So I do like the fact that he's coming back quickly, though. Sometimes I think some fighters wait out too long after a loss. That was in January, so about 7 months out the ring, that's good. I don't think it's too much of a layoff.
How do you feel about the fact that he's getting a title shot right off of a loss?
I mean, again, the titles today they're so irrelevant, and it's really just a trophy. So I would have been a lot madder 25 years ago, but now it's just like, the titles don't mean anything. And that's happened a lot over the years. When you have the name and you have the popularity, and again, I got to say, my favorite fighter, as you can see behind, Arturo Gatti, there was a few times that happened too. He went into the welterweight division, and it was like, all right, no, he's gonna fight Gianluca Branco from Italy, unknown, Italian fighter with a padded record for a WBC interim title. Mm-hmm. Do you think there was other guys that deserved that chance to fight Gatti or to fight another fighter, for that interim belt? Of course, So I don't really pay too much with the interim belts and guys getting a shot after one fight. I don't like it, but it's just kind of how boxing is today.
It is. It just makes me feel for a guy like Jack Catterall. He's picked up 3 great wins at 147 in a row since his Barboza loss, and he's the regular champ there for the WBA. So a guy like him, is like, come on.
But think about it. It's just stupid. Think about what you just said. He's the regular champ. What does that even mean? So then who has the legit belt?
Yeah.
No one even knows. It's just it's irrelevant at this point. It's stupid. They really just made a mockery of the belts.
Yeah.
But what I do want to bring up too, because since I want to kind of stay on the topic of friends fighting each other, because we were talking about that with Tio and Rollie. There was a few fighters and fights in the past that situation happened. One of them being going back to 1987, and you had the great Evander Holyfield fighting, I want to say Henry Tillman, which was like his best friend and sparring partner. They worked together a lot on the 1984 Olympic team, and I believe 5 or 6 months later, Holyfield was a groomsman at Tillman's wedding, which is crazy. To really think about it. They were in a world class fight for a world title. Holyfield stopped him. Tillman held his own, I believe. I want to say was it Tillman or was it? Yeah, it was Tillman, because Tillman was the one that actually beat Tyson in the amateurs to get the spot on the '84 Olympic team. So that was one of those fights where good friends fought each other.
Imagine the speech at the wedding.
Right, exactly. That, and then also another fight. I remember a little more recent times. Some of the people might remember Deontay Wilder and Scott.
Malik Scott.
Malik Scott,
yeah,
right.
Malik Scott, you're right.
They were like best friends and sparring partners and things like that. And they actually wound up fighting, and Wilder just absolutely destroyed him in one round, which had to be a bad way to treat your friend. I mean, at least let the guy go around it too. I mean,
that I wonder, that shows like how mentally disciplined Wilder was then. Like, he didn't care at all who was in front of him. He was just like, I'm gonna steamroll you. Simple. Like, you're in my way. I want to go to the top. I'm going to take you out, no matter, who you are. I'm going to get you out of there.
Right. All right. So after that, I want to talk about. Actually, what do you want to talk about? I know the Lester Martinez fight's coming up. You want to talk about that? Is that next week or that's? I think it's next week. Yeah. So
that's next weekend. Yep, in California. So Lester's going to get all of the million of Guatemalans that live in L.A. to come out, and they're all going to support. But no, they love their guy out there, man. So they showed out for him in San Bernardino when he fought Aleem. So that dude's, he's cooking up to be a big star over there on the West Coast.
Right.
So, yeah, he's fighting this weekend against Croatian Luka Plantic, who I've never watched before.
Me either.
But I'm excited to see Lester back in action after that win against Aleem, and that brawl with him and Billy, man.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of my introduction to Lester. I heard the name before, and again, there's not many fighters that come out of Guatemala, so it's always cool to have a story like that where the whole country could really back their man and really kind of create a different outlook on the sport, going forward. So I'm looking forward to that.
He has the makings to be a big star, especially with Bud. Him and Bud being very close friends, and Bomac is his trainer.
Right.
He has the making for Bud to back him at every fight. Right, Bud is going to bring his crew with him. Like, if there's a big fight in LA, he's going to call up Shakur. He's going to call up, maybe Clarissa, who fought this past weekend, and they're going to have a show and come out and go see Lester. So I'm excited for Lester. His stock is rising and rising. Right. So excited to see him. Also on that card, we've got Najee Lopez, who's like another dark horse or whatever at 175, who's going to take over that division, right? So that guy he's fighting. He's fighting Juan Carrillo, who I've never heard of either, a hard-hitting Colombian. So excited to see Najee back in action as well, man.
Right. Yeah, the 175 division. Now that you brought that up, I'm kind of drawing a blank on who's the top dogs in that division.
Is
it's still Bivol and Beterbiev, right? Okay, so they're still the top dogs.
They're both
I figured
out.
they might have. Right, they're both injured or something. Right.
Yeah, they're both out. So really, it's for the taking. We'll see. Like maybe if Whitaker can come up and be one of those guys, but as of now, it's kind of up for the taking on who's going to really come in and take over, because we've got those two champs that just they're not fighting right now. And then a personal favorite of mine, we've got Atif Overton, or Oberton.
Right.
He just cleared up how to actually say his name. And
Tom Yankello cat, right?
Yeah, your guy, man. And that dude, you can watch him shadow box for 5 hours straight, and you will just be amazed. What? He just picked up a good win in Atlanta on the Clarissa Shields fight. So the 75 division is up for the taking, man. We got to see who's going to be the one to take it. But I think Najee's in the running for number one. So.
Well, that's good. They got some young cats in that division that we're going to get to see some big fights, because I feel like it's been quiet for a while. Kind of since Bivol and Beterbiev, like I said, they've been out for a while. And ever since then, you haven't really heard of the division at all. So
yeah, and even Morrell was supposed to be that guy. And then we see Morrell get his lights knocked out, just sleep on the rope. So
and I was so high. I was so high on Morrell since the beginning, man. I remember just watching him and being amazed with the speed, the power, the movement, all the Cuban stuff, and he was an excellent fighter. But again, listen, he got caught. He got stopped. It doesn't mean. Listen, he was minus 1,700. I cannot even remember. I swear to God, in my whole lifetime of watching boxing and looking at odds and stuff like that, I'm talking 25 plus years. I do not remember one time where a guy that was minus 1,700 got knocked out like that. I don't remember. there was a few where there was like really big underdogs. Like I just to go off the top of my head real quick, like obviously Buster Douglas and Tyson was probably the biggest upset, if not the biggest upset ever. I want to say he was like 90-1, something crazy like that. But that's going back all the way to 1990. But other than that, there's a few. Obviously, Corey Sanders, Vladimir Klitschko was another big one. I want to say maybe Vladdy was like 15-1 or something like that. So a lot of them up there, but that was a massive upset that happened to Morrell. That was very shocking to me.
Huge.
Hopefully he bounces back. He got stopped, and hopefully we can get him back in that division, and hopefully he gets a comeback fight, and then hopefully we can get him against one of these contenders. Get to see Morrell again, because I was definitely high on him. But all right, so is there any other fights coming up other than the main one that we want to talk about?
We've got that the third, the co-main for the Itauma and Hrgovic, the Sam Noakes. He's fighting Baranchik.
Okay.
So Baranchik is coming back after his first time since losing to Keyshawn.
Right.
He looked awful, awful in there. Like
Keyshawn could do that to them, though, for sure.
You're right, and because the reason I'm basing him on being awful was because he picked apart Navarrete at a time where we kind of thought Navarrete was like almost unbeatable.
Two totally different styles, though.
Very.
Navarrete, he's a come forward guy, all or nothing, throw a million punches. So him and Keyshawn are two totally different styles. I think Keyshawn's going to be one of the top dogs too, pound for pound, in the next couple of years, as long as he gets his opportunities at the fights.
Well, Keyshawn's getting his opportunities, but we just saw him purely duck Devin Haney. He was going to get his biggest paycheck ever. Well, he's trying to be the businessman.
All right, let's talk a little bit about that, because to be honest, I heard about it. I've been on vacation, and I kind of been out of the loop a little bit the last couple of days. So what exactly happened? God bless you, by the way.
Thank you. So Haney offered him the fight at 47, and he was supposed to get $3 million, and Keyshawn was coming back like, I can make more than that. That's not even anything I've made close to before. He didn't like that the split was 75-25, which was, kind of tough. But if you're Haney took the craziest split of all time when he fought Kambosos. When you truly believe in yourself and you want to be that man and take over the sport, you're gonna take that cut. So that would have been Keyshawn's biggest payday to fight one of the faces in boxing,
Right.
and then he just kind of he soiled it. So now now Keyshawn, what do? You had your team come in, bid. Now they're not going to back you. Like, you just made a fool of them. You wasted everybody's time. So I don't know where he goes from here. Yeah, like, genuinely.
That's an interesting one for sure, because to be honest, Haney's not even one of those guys that's like a devastating puncher, or one of those guys is a bad matchup stylistically. Like, he boxes and he moves well, but he's not a world beater. I actually would favor Davis in a fight like that. So that's definitely interesting. Maybe he just probably thought that he's worked more than he really is at this point. Because to be fair, other than his last fight, even that is not really a great notable win. You know, like when it's all said and done, and we're looking at your big wins, your notable wins, so to speak, is that name going to be on your resume? I hope not. Right?
Yeah.
Because
people aren't going to bring up that you beat Albright in the second fight just because he beat the hell out of your brother. Like,
right. Exactly.
Nobody's going to bring that up.
And if we're bringing up a name like that, that means that you never fought the top guys that were of your era, which is always the biggest crime in the sport. So I hope that don't happen with him, because he's a great fighter.
If I can see a fight for him next, we need him and Frank Martin to fight next. Frank is now on Top Rank. He's signed. That fight just makes sense. They already have smoke in the air with each other. They had that face off. I forget at what fight they had a crazy face off, like send the contract. So it's already laid out for them. Keyshawn, if you're not gonna fight Haney for $3 million, okay, fight Frank Martin for $800K or whatever you make, right? So we'll see what he can. But really, what a lot of people are speculating is they thought Devin was gonna drop the belt and he was going to move up. So they kind of Keyshawn was kind of calling him on his bluff. And Keyshawn was hoping to get like a vacant, to fight for a vacant title. But Devin stood on his word and stayed there. And now Keyshawn's like, oh, well, I don't want to fight you, actually.
Right. Yeah, he didn't play his cards right, basically. That's what happened. So, but hopefully we get that matchup, in the future, because I'd like to see that. Again, I like Keyshawn a lot. I think he's got a lot of talent. And I think there could be some really good matchups, in the divisions, in and around his own division. Because really the guys that are 140, 147, you can kind of go up and down anywhere from 140 to 150. I think there's a ton of guys like Shakur and Tank and Ryan and Rollie, and all these guys in and around that division that they would just make for great fights. Obviously Haney,
great fights.
So hopefully we get those. And so we're gonna talk about the one I really want to talk about is my favorite division and one of my favorite up and coming heavyweights. I want to talk about the Moses Itauma fight against Filip Hrgovic. What's your thoughts on the fight, and who do you favor in that fight? I think it's in 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's on the 29th, so a little less than 2 weeks actually. Right. But it's hard to pick against Itauma. Itauma is just anybody you're throwing in front of him, he's just getting rid of, regardless of who they are.
Destroying everybody. Right.
And the kid is so gifted, skilled, quick, power. He can box. He's a southpaw. That left hand is going to be right there waiting for Hrgovic to just run right into it. It's hard to bet against him. Of course, you want to say, well, yeah, but Hrgovic is a bit more experienced. He's been in there with some bigger names, and not to mention Hrgovic is a huge dude. Right. But he's not going to be athletic enough. He's going to be strong, but that's not. Itauma's been in there with strong dudes. You don't think they've thrown in very big, brolic dudes that, and it's not like Hrgovic is the best boxer either. So
yeah, but Hrgovic, well, I wouldn't sleep on Hrgovic. First of all, I think what happens too in today's game is this, right? He lost one time, and
he did,
you know who his loss was?
one of the top heavies, man, Dubois,
Right.
and Dubois is
Right.
his. That loss is aging fine. It really is, because
And
Dubois is doing his thing.
I watched that fight recently, and it was a lot closer than people thought it was.
It was.
You know,
It was.
Hrgovic had his moments in that fight. So he's kind of, I want to say, in the same, playing field as Moses, because Moses is just this massive prospect. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like when Tyson came on the scene. And again, I wasn't really watching boxing in 1986. I wasn't even born, actually. But I went back and watched all his fights, right? I have his whole career on tape, and I watched every single one of his fights, all the, interviews and all the hoopla in and around, Tyson, because obviously he's one of the most intriguing guys in the history of the game. And he kind of got brought up in the same way, where it was like he was hot early, and they were just throwing everyone at him early. And I don't know if that was the best thing to ever happen to him, or was the worst thing that ever happened to him, because he became the youngest champ and all this stuff. But really, ever since he did that, it was all downhill for Tyson, to be honest. He was on top of the world, beating everyone, knocking everybody out. He had the movie star girlfriend, all that stuff, youngest heavyweight champion, to ever do it, all the fame and money in the world. But I think, sometimes being brought up too quickly is something that could really wreck your career.
Because everybody's depending on you. Everybody's depending on you on them to be right about you. They're like, you are the goods. You're the guy that's going to carry the torch. And if you have any sort of mess ups at all along the way, then you're a failure. It's done. They throw you to the wolves.
Right. I think it's partly that, but I think it's also the fact that it's like, once you get to the top of the mountain, what else is there? Right? Like, let's say he beats Hrgovic, right? Which he most likely will, and that he's the favorite and all that stuff, and he probably will. He beats him. He's got the world title. I believe they're giving him an IBF world title. I think the winner of this gets this, right? The vacant belt, which I kind of like. That I don't mind, because they're actually making two people fight for the belt, which is something that...
And it's a good fight. It's a genuinely good fight. So
right.
I'm not mad at it either.
And it's an even fight, and two guys that have been on top of the division for, the last couple fights. So I kind of like the idea of that. But let's say he beats him, and then he goes on to unify. Say he beats Agasayev, and he beats Adjek Kabiel, something like that. After that, you're 22 years old. What else you really doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know how he acts.
Game.
Right, and I don't know how he is in and out of the ring and all that stuff, but who knows? Maybe, the money gets to him, the party and all that stuff, the fame gets to him, and that could kind of be detrimental to the fighter's career, just being moved along too quickly.
Yeah, he doesn't have the biggest, social media presence. This dude doesn't post a lot.
Right, he seems a very quiet guy. Right.
He's very quiet, and, so I don't even know if the dude parties. Like... Right. Who knows what he does in his free time?
Shit, he ain't even old enough to party. He's 20.
You're right.
So he can't even really go to the clubs yet, And everyone knows who he is. You can't fake his ID, especially where he's living, in Great Britain. But, listen, Moses looked really good his last time out. He stopped Jermaine Franklin, knocked him out, with just I think it was I want to say it was an uppercut, right? It was like a counter shot, I remember. It was a really, viral type of knockout. Looked really good in that, and then also he knocked out Dillian White, who he absolutely destroyed in one round.
Oh my God, smoked that dude.
Which is just, again, no one really expected. I think even Dillian was surprised with that. It was like kind of when he got up, oh wow, like what the hell was that? And I did not expect that to happen. So he's looking really good, and everything about him seems like he's going to be a star, and he's got the skills. I think there's certain guys, like I remember. Kind of when Joshua came on the scene, I remember watching him in the Olympics in 2012, and winning gold, being in London, all that was like this big story. But I remember when he turned pro, I felt like he was going to be exposed because of maybe the body type or just the way he moved. He didn't really have that fluidity in him, that way he could just move really well. I'm always a fan of the guys that when you just look at them fluidly and their reflexes are just superbly better than everyone, those are always the guys that I'm going to be high on, that I can't see losing. Like the Floyd Mayweathers, the Shakur Stevenson type of guys. But even at heavyweight, you'll see guys that are big and brolic like that, but they can move. I didn't really see that with Joshua. He did kind of coming to his own a little bit, later in his career, with the big win over Klitschko and all that. But Moses, there's a lot of intrigue there, with him. I just hope they're not bringing him along too quickly.
Well, if you're worried about that, it's now. Now is the time, right? Like, now you've got your title shot. Oh man, the dude's in his 15th fight, about to get his world title, man. This dude, and like you said, I love your point. Like, what else is there? You can clean up the heavyweight division, but I don't know how possible that's going to be right now. With the belts are being spread out, so
right.
it was almost for the taking if he could have won this and then fought Usyk, or we could have seen. But
I think it will happen. I think unification will happen. I think what they kind of wait for is when one kind of breaks from the pack, and he's kind of the guy that's the money man, and now he's the big story, like kind of with Usyk, right? He was the Ukrainian, the country's at war, and he beats this guy, he got this belt, and all of a sudden he beats Josh, and now he's this megastar. Now all of a sudden it's like, all right, now he's going to fight Fury, he's going to fight this guy, and he's going to start getting the big fights, I think if Itauma could, if he devastates Hrgovic like he's devastated his last two opponents, we're definitely in for a star, being born. He'll be born that night. That will really, because right now it's been blossoming for him. But if he could stop him, again, a guy who's never been stopped, and he's very durable. I think people are forgetting how durable Hrgovic is. And he's had a lot of really good wins, dude. I went back and looked at his record today. Just to name a few of his last few, he beat David Allen, the White Rhino, whatever his foolish nickname is, a British fighter who he absolutely destroyed, and again, he was a guy that his country was high on for a while. Destroyed him. He destroyed the other guy, David. Was it
David? Adelaide.
Adelaide, right. It was a Nigerian, I think, or African fellow who was a really tough fighter too, and he beat him pretty well, and then he beat up Joe Joyce as well, who as of now it's not looking as that great of a win because
that dude
Joyce just fell off the face of the earth,
and he is on loss after loss after loss. I feel
Joe
Joyce was a dude I was huge on.
Me too.
I was huge on, man, and he just has not been able to pick up.
Right. Yeah, me and my buddy, I remember telling him, because I have another friend that's kind of into boxing, but he's like kind of a casual, but he wants to get into it. Just it's hard to consume it like we used to as kids. I remember telling him about Joe Joyce and saying, "Oh, this kid's going to be the next star. He's the next Joshua. He's going to fight Joshua. He'll beat Joshua." And ever since that Zhilei Zhang stoppage, man, the second one particularly, he's never been the same at all. That was a rough fight for him, and obviously his career's kind of went downhill, unfortunately. But, I looked at Hrgovic's record, man. A lot of big wins. Another big win. He beat Zhilei Zhang. Close fight. It was kind of controversial, but it's another very good win and a very good name on his resume.
The names are there, but if we look at it from like a style perspective, the dude Itauma's too explosive, man. He's agile, he's slick, and he's got pop and power.
And he uses angles. He used angles very well for heavy. I've never really seen heavyweights use angles like that. Maybe Usyk a little bit. Obviously, Tyson back in the day was a big angle guy, but I don't really recall guys kind of slipping and sliding like he's been. So he's looked great. He really has.
His feints are beautiful. Oh man, I'm very high on him. So I would bet the stoppage Itauma.
Right. Yeah, I'm not gonna say I'm not high on him. I'm definitely high on him too. My worry though is it too quickly? Right. I remember saying, I think about 2 fights ago when he fought Dillian White, I said, now we're kind of flirting with the fact of bringing him in the top 10, and I didn't know how I felt about that. I like how they've been bringing him along, though. Like, I like the Jermaine Franklin fight for him in his next fight after Dillian White fight. He stopped him, and I think I wanted to see maybe like 2 or 3 more kind of like gatekeeper type of heavyweights.
Those were 2 like very good skill tests for Itauma.
Right,
Even with White, I kind of thought, I was like, oh damn, that's gonna be kind of tough.
Right, it might be a little too much.
I bet Itauma to win by like decision, and he got the dude out of there in 1 round. Right. And then since then, I was like, this guy's the goods. He's him.
Right. Yeah, I would have liked maybe at least 2, maybe 2 more like gatekeeper type of fights for him. But you know what? Sometimes when you get to the top of that mountain, and you're there, it's like, hey, why delay it? You know, he's in the prime of his life. He's 20 years old. He's obviously been all about boxing his whole life. And, you know, he's been just knocking everyone out, and he's been winning. So it's like, you know what? We're going to give him another test. And again, Hrgovic is a guy he's a big dude, and he could crack, but he's not exactly, you know, like a prime Tyson or Holyfield type of puncher. You know what I mean? He's more of a jabber and like a boxing, you know, outside type of guy.
And he's just got mass moves, mass type of power. Dude. He's gonna throw arm punches that are gonna hurt. They're gonna Itauma, if he sits in there and bangs with Hrgovic, it's gonna be a little tough for him. But we'll see, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's certainly an intriguing matchup. You know, like I said, the heavyweight's always, you know, my favorite division. So I'm definitely excited about seeing this one. Now, let me ask you this: if Itauma wins, obviously you want to see unification. But what is like a particular matchup you would like for him in his next fight?
The easy answer would be Caballero, right? Like that's something we have to see. That would be awesome because Caballero is an athletic big guy, so it would be small, explosive, athletic heavyweight versus a bigger, moving heavyweight. I still would favor Itauma, but it would be a really, really good matchup. I would also love to just see Itauma like do some domestic fights over there because that's where all the heavies are. Like, if he can get a fight with Dubois, that would be crazy. If he can fight the winner of Wardley Dubois, exactly.
That's what I was thinking. You know.
Yep.
Caballero's my guy, and if I'm a promoter of Itauma, I'm keeping him away from Caballero at this point. I don't know. I favor him against anybody at this point in his career. I really do. I'm very high on him. I haven't seen a heavyweight go down the body like that in years, if ever. You know, he's been absolutely amazing. You know, body punch. He's been stopping everybody. And kind of how I found out about him is I was high on. I want to say it was Magamanov. Who's the guy that Fury fought? I always forget how to say his name too. Big,
the
Russian
big bear,
dude.
the big bear, yeah, that's his name.
I think it's Magamanov.
It's something like that. His nickname is Big Bear, but I'm blanking on his name as well.
But I remember being high on...
I remember. Arslanbek Makhmudov or something.
Makhmudov, right. That's insane how to say that.
Yeah.
But I remember being high on him because of how big he was, and he was stopping. I remember him and Hrgovic kind of coming up together. And again, I remember my friend asking me, like, who are the top heavyweights? And I remember saying, like, oh, these two guys are going to be guys to look after. And I remember watching the Big Bear saying, like, telling him, yo, this is going to watch how good this guy is. And I didn't even know who Adjet was. And Caballero just absolutely destroyed the Big Bear. And I was like, who the hell is this?
Yep.
And then I'm like, I got to watch this guy. And then in his next fight, I want to say it was the Frank Sanchez one or was it the Zilli Zhang one? Frank Sanchez.
Yeah.
Because he was another fighter that I was high on. I remember telling my buddy about him, saying, like, hey, this guy, the Cuban guy, the Cuban Flash, he's going to be the next heavyweight champ. And then Caballero destroyed him.
Now you have to be.
Right. Now I had to be a fan.
Guy. Triangle theory, you're like, okay, you are the guy, actually.
Right. So now I've been following Adjet for a while now. And again, man, I just see danger when I watch him. He's hitting down to the body like that, and he's got great wind for a big dude too. Like he's not a small heavyweight, man. He's a big 250, 260. He carries it really well. He could use his jab. He can move well. His defense is very underrated too. He moves his head well. He keeps his hands up. He's good, man. I really like Adjet, and again, I like the division. I think a lot of people hate on the division, but I think there's a lot of good matchups that could be made in the heavyweight division today.
No, for sure. Yeah, that'll be a good fight. And that fight's going to be at the O2 Arena there in London on the 29th. So
that's Wardley. That's Wardley and you're talking about Hrgovic and
Itauma and Hrgovic. Yeah, they're fighting at the O2, so they're going to get like 60K people there. They're going to pack it out, man.
He's already getting arenas, man. Which is great. I love stadiums, you know. That's why I love Great Britain, man. They support their guys, and for them, it's like our Super Bowl. You know, they show up and and groves of people, which is amazing. So, but is the Woodley and Dubois fight number 2 signed or no?
Yes, it is in
nice.
the October 16th. October 16th.
Oh, is that the one you said you were going to?
I want to try and go to that.
Okay,
yeah, I'm
awesome.
gonna see if I can go there.
All right. So who do you favor in that one? Kind of end it there.
This is a cheap answer, but I'd have to lean Dubois. Like
Right.
that dude is just. Oh man, yeah, I'd lean Dubois.
Yeah, I think I would favor Dubois on that one too, because I don't know. Watching that fight, there was just something about Woodley that was just a little too amateurish. And again, I can't hate on anything he's done. I mean, guy is tough as nails. I mean, he showed an iron chin that night. I mean, his heart was as big as Texas. I mean, you can never doubt what Woodley brought to the ring that night. But I think skill-wise, Dubois is a little more advanced. So I think I have to favor Dubois as well in the second fight. So,
Agreed.
If you got nothing else, I think we could put a cap on this episode. If you have anything,
all right, and if
else.
no, maybe we just want to talk about the main event this weekend. So yeah, the main event between Rolando Rollie Romero and Teofimo Lopez is this Saturday, August 22nd at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. And they'll be streaming it live on the DAZN pay-per-view. So.
All right. Yeah, I wish you were in town, man. I would tell you to come by. I think I'm going to have my buddies over when we got the fights on Saturday. But after, I'm going to have a couple of my friends over and have some drinks and, enjoy the fights. But listen, if you listen to this podcast on YouTube, if you could like and subscribe, I'd definitely appreciate it. We're definitely going to have more episodes. We're going to have some more fighter interviews as well and some classic fight reviews in the future. So, yeah, if you could just like and subscribe, share it, maybe leave a comment, we would definitely appreciate it. And I want to say thanks for joining us today, Jose. Appreciate you, brother.
Yep. Yes, sir.
All right. We'll talk soon.